Aye,
Okay.
yes.
Review of draft ordinance for chapter 70.
Skip one.
Presentation, oh, you guys, go ahead, you're first.
So this is going to be the presentation of analysis of the residential median District 1 densities and intensity. And presenting it is Louis Cerna, and he's a certified planner. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you
Good
Brenda?
morning.
Are you Brenda?
What?
Are you Brenda?
No.
She's a public member of the public.
I live across the street.
Okay, all right.
So, yeah, good morning, everyone. Yeah, I prepared the memorandum before you. It should be in your packets dated September 18th, 2025. And the city asked us to look into the existing development in the RM district and compare it with the current standards. The report provides the standards in terms of density, which is units per acre. The existing is 15 units per acre in this district. Floor area ratio, which is the square footage of floor area based on the square footage of land area, which for this district is 0.5, and impervious surface area ratio, which is your hardscape, your buildings, your driveways, things like that. That square footage divided by the square footage of total land area. So we did a comparison, and on page 2 of 4 at the bottom, we provide a summary of what the existing densities and floor areas are. So our finding is that the average density is 21.04 units per acre. Again, 15 is the maximum for the district. Floor area is, the average is 0.524. That also exceeds the maximum of the RM district. Impervious surface area, we just estimated based on the aerials of the site, so we're estimating range from 0.85 to 0.95, and again, the maximum is 0.75. So our conclusion is that the existing densities of development exceed what's allowed in the code. If you're looking at making the existing development consistent with what's on the ground, our recommendation would be to increase the densities. And we provide some maximums there. You could propose to increase the maximum density up to 30 units per acre. We don't recommend going above that because that would make it inconsistent with the countywide rules and countywide map. Floor area ratio is up to 0.6, and then maximum impervious surface area ratio, we would recommend increasing up to 0.85. You could go less than the maximums that are indicated there. As indicated, the average density is 21.04 units per acre. Allowed is 15 units per acre. So you could go, you could go anywhere up to 30 units per acre. 21.04 would be consistent with the development in the area. So just giving you the maximum recommendations, or the maximum that you could go up to, you could go below that. But just providing you with this information would be glad to answer any of your questions.
So you think we should have 20 units per acre?
You could go up to that. Yeah, the concern I think is that if these developments were destroyed, then they would lose the density possibly than what would.
Hi.
Hello.
Well, that's
Yes.
what made me bring it up, is the fact that our Beach Motel, as an example, is at 40 some odd units. So now they can only pay
But there is a clause in there for hurricane or disaster.
Yeah, and most codes include this, and the town does as well, that you can get back to what you lost in the event it were destroyed.
Right.
In a natural disaster. So this would really just be to make the code consistent with
But
the
then
development
that's
out
where
there.
we left off, is to expand on that, was what you that currently it's down on the ground. So to rebuild it, obviously it can't be built like that. It has to come up. So we don't really have a plan for that future here in the city. And so what I was suggesting was we're making headway until you get, we brought you in the suggestion of these guys, that have like a parking garage underneath it and have 3 floors, and if it comes down to 30 units, that's what it is. But because right now it's not rebuildable, he was that close to losing it. He barely made it through.
Yeah.
And so that being said, it just cut the value of his property in a third. So I've been here my whole life. And the Bella Beach Motel has always been like that's like a boutique type thing, and it's unique. When I got married, I filled the place up, but I was kind of it's just kind of a neat place, kind of following. It's an eyesore now, it really is. It's so old. But if it ever did get rebuilt, I think it would be great, but I wouldn't want to lose it to 15 condos, if you will, and to be able to park underneath it, have the guy have 3 stories. If that takes to get you to 50 feet, then that's what it is. But I don't think that would be too out of line with what we already have. And there's 3 or 4 other developments more, I guess, north that I don't know what their status is, Kyle, but we're the one, was it the Ship Watch or
Oh, Nautical Watch.
Nautical Watch?
Yeah.
That's the total it looks like. It's,
That is currently SD, so it's still substantially damaged. They have an appraisal that needs to be edited or amended, and then they claim that they're going to repair the structure, but I need to see the appraisal corrected.
what the big picture is, as Kyle mentioned just a minute ago, values have gone down from the hurricanes, and we're going to lose more and more structures based on they got flooded, and they got to come down one by one. You're seeing them disappear. And our tax base is going to go away too. That means we're all going to pay more taxes to make up the difference. It's common sense. So, and there's nothing these guys can do about it unless they just,
Right, it's just
how much can you
math.
cut? So, so that being said, I've just been on a quest to find ways to get more revenue for the future of the city. And if you put that, we'd end up increasing the tax base. So we don't have too many opportunities in the city to do that, and that is whatever strip we have on the call, it's just the highest value pieces of land. And we've already made a move with the single-family homes where you can build 3-story living areas now. So obviously that's going to increase our property values. It won't happen tomorrow, but once it gets out there, you can build 3 stories, everybody's starting to increase it with. That's what my objective is.
Yeah, and correct, if they wanted to redevelop outside of the natural disaster, they could not get back to what they had before. So, yeah, older buildings, this would encourage perhaps, them redeveloping and getting a higher density or getting the density they have now.
Yeah, I did my homework and came up with a density of 1.2 and then a minimum of 25 to 30 units with probably a 50-foot ceiling. That's what we left on. That's what we pretty much tabled last time.
So you're recommending to increase these 3?
Well, right now you said a 15 per acre, and I think that's ridiculous. And get at least up to 30.
Why is that ridiculous?
Well, he has 40 now.
I know, but they're 100 years old. I mean, what are they doing?
Right, but
What are they doing over there?
Matter of fact, I dropped by the other day and took a look at they remodeled them. They made it, just barely got through the 50% rule. So they're not gonna knock it down tomorrow, but if we could do it, this can't happen again. And then, we had it happen within 10 days apart,
So
so.
what's at a standstill over there?
Oh, they're not, they're almost wrapping up.
They are?
Yeah.
And you're gonna reopen as the
Same
site that they were before?
Yeah.
So what is this really all about here? Is that concerning them?
No, I don't know what you point out, but as far as just doing, I'll talk about all the zoning.
What could have happened is the Bella Beach Motel was damaged, and they were convinced that they were substantially damaged, but we looked at it and did the estimate like 3 times and came out and it was below being substantially damaged. But in a situation that they were looking to possibly sell it to a developer, and then that developer would be able to use the higher densities and ratios.
So tear it down completely and start from the bottom up.
Using something that's a little more realistic,
Mhm.
because they wouldn't be grandfathered like existing properties are.
That currently, that deal, that died, so that's not happening, so that's why he went ahead and redid all that. But it's just down the road, like I said, if we get another storm, that's what we're supposed to be looking into the vision.
Proactive, that's right, not reactive, right?
The council don't worry about what's happening right now, so that was just a suggestion that I thought would be better overall for the city, for the future. And if it's some 10 years from now, or hopefully never gets wiped out,
Yeah,
you know.
another 100 years.
We will not be here, that's right.
That's all, that's why I suggested this. And when I jumped in this, and we were already just digging into chapter 94, and, you know, I didn't have time to really sit there and go through it all. And when we had our last long break, I did. I went going a little bit more in detail, each thing that we were just turn the page and we're voting on something. And some of that stuff that you have to do with getting education on all that. So I appreciate bringing in somebody here that that's what they do. So I mean, I'm all for what I just suggested. I think anybody else that likes my idea, we could.
So what are they currently rebuilding to? How many units?
So the current maximum density is 15 units per acre.
But they're not building.
This place is not, but if it's, we're saying hypothetically, if the building, whatever reason, got burned down, another hurricane, and they go to rebuild it, they're getting 15 units versus what they have now. Now, we're saying you can do it, copy what you have, but you won't be able to do that with the 50% rule. They have to go up. So that really
Yeah.
takes that away. That can't happen.
It hurts the value of that property for the owner, that's not really fair.
And that hurts our taxes.
Well, sure it does, but if I were the property owner, I would want to be able to, you know,
Absolutely.
yeah.
It's like,
I mean, that's like saying you can rebuild your house, Debbie, but you can only rebuild 50% of the square footage that you had.
Had before, so.
Right.
To me, it looks like it's just that right thing to do.
So we're just trying to be proactive.
So-
The only comment I would.
Excuse me.
Oh, go ahead.
Ma'am, if you're not on this board, you're a member of the public, you should step back and wait until you're addressed and given the floor.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This is their board meeting,
Okay.
okay? It's not a back and forth.
Okay.
Okay,
I'm
all
sorry.
right.
So, that's why I throw it out there if anybody want to move forward with my ideas.
So what are you
I'm
suggesting?
suggesting to go 30 units per acre, a 1.2 density, and a 50-foot height.
50.
Correct. That's about what you're going to need if you have 3 stories over a garage.
Mr. Cerna didn't analyze height, does that sound correct?
Yeah, I did not, but I think that would be in line, 50 feet, but we can double check that.
That's like a 4-story building.
Oh, it would be if you count the garage underneath it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Concern would be, I guess, the residents across the street on Gulf Boulevard because of the water view. But, I mean, that's not guaranteed right to them.
I lost my water view in 1970 when they built all those condos there, because I lived there was nothing there.
Well, do we have view right restrictions?
There's no visual rights.
No, I didn't think so. Yeah.
That's hard to get.
Just a question, the 1.2, is that the floor area ratio?
Yeah, the floor area.
Okay. Yeah, I think we had looked at the Ford Pinellas plan and the RH land use in that plan, and the maximum is 0.6, so just so you know, I don't know if they would let you get to 1.2, but,
I took that from other cities and neighboring cities, like Clearwater Beach, that you can build with anything you want, basically, as high as you want, but Pocket Indian Rocks is more the closer to the model I used.
yeah, let me double check that, but yeah, I made a note, that's what you're looking at, and if there's any issues, well, be sure to inform
Sure,
Kyle.
great. I think Indian Rocks is a little bit more liberal than that, but
So you're 1.2 for floor area ratio?
Right.
Okay.
So far, yeah.
And are you counting the first parking floor storage?
I didn't get too detailed, I didn't get a guy like this, but
Because we understand that shouldn't be counted.
Correct, yeah, the parking wouldn't count.
I don't know.
Now, is that considered Bel Air Shores or Bel
Bel Air Beach.
Bel Air Beach.
Last house on Bel Air Shore, 1900,
Okay,
and that's Bel Air Beach all the way.
okay.
So you said natural disaster, can we just clarify, does that mean like if they had a fire? Or is this just hurricane, natural disaster, or?
It's,
It's the federal law, I don't know, look at FEMA. To get flooded.
catastrophic loss, declaration of a disaster area. The definition is defined to mean a declared disaster or emergency within corporate limits of the city as declared by the city councils, so it's just as the council declares it a disaster.
The flood is the federal government's regs.
So a fire is not? Unless it's.
Yeah,
You're not gonna get a
would not be
permit.
declared, but
You wouldn't get a permit
maybe
from the
multi.
county to build on the ground level yard, so it's gotta go back to it's gotta go up, so it's,
If it was like a plane crash and it took out a whole bunch of buildings, that would be a good example.
Okay.
so I motioned to three things I just mentioned. If I can get a second.
Yeah, okay. I agree with that. That's all.
So say
They're gonna go 30 units per acre, a density of 1.2, 50-foot height.
and what about the impervious?
What we talked about the other, last week, that's already went through all that.
So it's set at 0.75 currently. The average we're seeing are between 8.85 and 0.95. So we're averaging about 10% more. I don't know if that's a good reason that you should up the impervious surface. If anything, with redevelopment, maybe they could try to take it down.
What's the standard now?
Right now it's 0.75.
We've already held this.
We recommended 0.85. The countywide rules have a resort district that gets you up to 0.95.
I got 0.85 to 0.95.
And that also allows the FAR of 1.2, so
Correct.
that might be the category to look at.
0.85.
0.85.
So I just want to be clear. So the chair is making a motion to accept the recommendations of the consultant and move the density from 15 units an acre to 30 units an acre. The consultant has suggested increasing the FAR to 0.60, but the chair is recommending 1.2. The consultant is recommending the ISR be increased to 0.85, and the chair making the motion is also interested in moving that to 0.85. Did I miss anything?
50 feet.
Well, that was not in any of the recommendations from the consultant.
He didn't do the height, he didn't know that he was.
Right.
But he said that, well, you can say it again, but he said it's.
He thinks that he can get to that point, but he wanted time to review it. But your motion is to include that as well.
Mhm.
It would be total building height,
Right.
because now it's, what are we at, 35? for Residential?
residential.
35 above BFE.
Base flood elevation.
So we agreed to recommend that we change to 35 feet plus, above the BFE plus 1 foot. because
It's
of
only
the
like
flood.
5 feet, because there's like, if you build a house now, your base flood's up to whatever, your zone at 10, 12 feet. This here in the parking lot will be down below that. So we're gonna be measuring from the ground.
That would be street level, yeah, yeah.
So if you add the to give up the base flood elevation there, then add the 3 floors, you're gonna be about the same height because of the parking garage height.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
So, back to the motion then. You're okay, since you were the one that seconded the motion, you're okay with those suggested changes, correct?
Yeah, I
Okay.
am.
All right, I just want to make sure we all understand what the motion is before there is actual vote taken. Okay.
Call the vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous.
Okay, that's what, all right, thank you. It's hard to take down the minutes and make sure that everybody's understanding, so I just trying to make some clarity there. Okay,
Thank you.
all right, you're welcome.
And then, Louis, I was trying to search, is for residential medium, do they give a maximum height, and where's that located?
Yeah, I'm looking for it.
Oh, thank you.
See, the 94-209 is only the residential low. And then, I don't believe there's any other height specifications.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't recall, so I'm doing a search, but, yeah, we'll continue to look at that, I think.
If there's no maximum height, do we want to set one?
50.
Well, he'll find out.
Right. I mean, you don't want to go higher, right?
Right. Okay. Ready to move on?
So in other words, okay, let me ask you something else. So if our height is 35 feet, let's say you raise your land area by 5 feet,
Yeah, whatever it is.
is there a requirement that you have to have 5 feet?
If you're gonna live in that area, if you don't, you gotta get down to 8.5 of sea level to put your garage. But if you're gonna live in it, you gotta be, like my street's 10, so I gotta get it up to 10 from my base flood elevation to make it,
Before you start building?
to live in it. You can build at 8.5, but you're not gonna, that's not habitable.
Okay,
That's your garage and storage.
yeah.
If you walk at 10, and it was 10, or every street's, not every street, but there's different heights in the city. And our city, Alita's 10.
Mm-hmm.
South Shoreditch, what, 14 or something, a little higher. But it's all where they
The
rematch.
BFE?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They rematch every 2 years.
I got a map right here.
Yeah, very good. So we're gonna move on to number 4,
Okay.
and that's your vote,
Yes, actually, since Mr. Stern is here, he's going to go over the Chapter 7 concurrency management recommendations.
Yes, and as I recall, this was a while ago since we wrote this, it was that the revisions that we're recommending are to be consistent with what Pinellas County, all the communities in Pinellas County are doing, which is moving to a mobility management system, which is a system that moves away from the old transportation concurrency requirements that Florida adopted 30-some years ago, which says that if you don't have adequate transportation for your development, then you can widen the roads. Usually what it ends up doing is people would have to widen the roads, widen intersections, or move the development elsewhere. And for a community like Bel Air Beach and for all of Pinellas County, it doesn't really work as well when you're built out. So the county several years ago adopted a mobility management system which allows developers to contribute towards things like pedestrian improvements or transit. So it's something that I think the city needs to do to be consistent with Pinellas County. The bottom line is it probably will not have a tremendous impact because you're not going to get a lot of new developments, even redevelopments. It's the net transportation impacts they're going to look at. So if you're tearing down a 200-unit development and rebuilding, you're only going to look at the traffic impacts from anything above the 200 units, and it would take quite a large development to trip, I think, the 50 trips. So it really will not have a huge impact on what you're doing. We're making the recommendation to do this to be consistent with the county, but it also allows collection of a mobility fee, again, based on the net increase in trips. And that goes towards the area's transportation improvements, including pedestrians and transit. So that's basically what we're doing. So it's a lot of writing, but it is just using language that is consistent with the county. Yeah.
So what's the major changes on that you guys are?
So we deleted the parts that had the old language about if you can't meet transportation concurrency, if the proportionate fair share basically is, we deleted that section and replaced it with mobility management system. And proportionate fair share is what I talked about, like if a large development can't meet transportation concurrency, then they can contribute their portion to improving the transportation system. The problem is with the constrained roads you have here, the bridge, Gulf Boulevard, things like that, you can't widen the road, so it really doesn't let you do a whole lot. Really, it could kill a development if it came through. Again, it would just be a large development. You don't have any undeveloped properties for somebody to build a large development that would trip transportation concurrency. So you're dealing with redevelopment. If somebody for some reason wanted to significantly tear down a building and significantly increase the amount of development, that's where you'd be looking at tripping these
What
systems.
takes it to trip it?
Like I said, it's a net increase in the amount of traffic, and
So let's say one of these condos years from now come down and there's 80 units in it, and now they want to go to 100. Is that a significant change?
it would not be. You're just looking at 20 additional units, and I think for it to trip a transportation study, I think it's 50. Let me see.
It's on page 12 of 13, paragraph F.
Thank you.
Development projects more than 50 peak hour trips on non-division roads.
Yeah. So it would be 50 new peak hour trips, which, yeah, it roughly works out to be 1 p.m. peak trip per new unit. So it would take a large development
It would,
to trip this. And the good thing is that even if it does, that threshold really just says they have to do a transportation study. So the city can determine what the impacts are on the system, and rather than requiring them to pay into a fund or that cannot be used for anything, it allows them to do things like, let's add a transit stop that would address transportation issues as opposed to just widening roads.
Okay, you have to get the bus and stuff. You don't. So that's pretty much the major changes. You usually help us with all the.
Yeah, so I had him summarize it, because he just made all these changes, and I know all the details.
Yeah, and again, it would be to be consistent with what the rest of the county's doing, and we see it as a positive. So we would definitely recommend that you adopt these. And like I said, it won't affect your day-to-day operations, people coming in for permits or anything like that.
You're right. You guys have any thoughts or any comments, or
No?
do you recommend, motion to recommend accepting this?
Yeah, I guess I do, yes, yes, I do.
Second?
So for clarity's sake, the motion is to approve the recommended changes by the consultant to Chapter 70 of the code. That's your motion,
Yes,
correct?
Correct.
And now we go to vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're up to number 5, and I can't write number 5.
So this is going to be a review draft ordinance, chapter 74, floodplain management ordinance. That is, there's no page number, it's the next section after the 13 pages, chapter 70. So this was reviewed by Rebecca Flynn. She works with Florida Division of Emergency Management for the state floodplain office. And she went through our floodplain ordinance to update it from what's changed since the last time we revised it. And a lot of it has to do with some of the building code changes that have occurred. And also just going through our chapter, we have a lot of mention of floodway, which is like riverine flooding, which we do not have in our jurisdiction. So I was okay with it, just omitting any mention of the floodway that doesn't apply, just to clean up the chapter. You'll see it kind of throughout. And on page 8, mention the floodway designations. Page 11, show the boundaries of the floodway. So that's kind of scattered throughout. A lot of it's crossed out on page 13 under the visual analysis and certifications. 74-114 on page 15 is another mention. So it's kind of built throughout. All the floodway has been removed. And another definition that was added is the coastal A zone, which is also referred to as LIMWA. So LIMWA stands for limited of moderate wave action. And on our floodplain map, it looks sort of like the flag string line with the little triangle off. So you have your BFE zones. We have AE8, which is elevation at 8, +1 would be you have to build to an elevation of 9 with the building code. A lot of the city is at an 8 on the insides, and then the remainder of it is mostly 9s, except for when you get kind of up on the harbor side. But you'll also see areas where you get to a 9 or even a 10, and then you have this LIMWA line, coming in closer. And if that line is, intersecting your structure on your lot, then, that you're required to meet the limited wave action restrictions. So currently, with the way our code is written and the way the Florida Building Code's been updated, every requirement that you need to follow for the VE zone, which is a velocity zone, we currently don't have any in our jurisdiction. But if we did, it changes the requirements, it makes them stricter. You gotta have, stainless steel fasteners. You have to, instead of raising the top of your first livable floor to that height that is specified by the map, you have to raise the lowest supporting horizontal, what is the horizontal component, I believe it is. So it's a higher threshold that you need to build to for better protection, is really what it comes down to. But the one difference, though, is with the way the current building code is, and our code is, if you're in a coastal A, you can still build on a backfill stem wall foundation, as opposed to only being allowed to build on columns or piles. So the difference is a backfill stem wall is not required to have breakaway walls. So if you were, say, lived up in this area, currently with our code, you could build your house on a stem wall and elevate it to the correct height, but it would be illegal to not have breakaway. So the recommendation is that we bring all construction within the coastal A zone to VE requirements. So that's a lot. So it's prohibiting constructing on a backfilled stem wall would be the difference.
You'd have to have a breakaway moving forward on new construction.
Right. In a lot of areas you do. For example, we just had a new house built in the 22nd. We have some houses that are getting elevated on Louisa. And those are areas that when they submitted their plans, that was part of the review, was that being in the coastal A zone, that they had to build on the columns or the backfill or the breakaway walls, but the currently you could still, with our code, you could still build on a backfill stem wall. So section 74-178 would be to include, non-structural fill in coastal high hazard areas, zone B and coastal A zones. So you would bring that requirement so that you had to build columns or breakaway wall. And the reason being is that in a limb-wall zone, you got wave action. It's limited wave action, so it's 0 to 3 feet. When you have that, it's more dangerous than when you have no wave action at all. But it's not a full velocity zone, so they're saying that they anticipate the maximum wave height is going to be 3 feet, so it's not going to be unlimited wave height that could do devastation, but it's going to be different than just water rising around your house. The wave action is more devastating to a structure, and that is the reasoning behind the higher requirements in those areas, if that makes sense. So it was recommended by Florida Department of Emergency Management consultant that we bring it in line with VE zones for the coastal A zone.
Now,
It's not required.
if you, it's not part of it, but if you say it might be at 10 feet for your base flood elevation for living, and you build out, you're building your home on pilings, you don't see it, but they're not under the ground, and then you build it up with dirt till you get to the 10 feet. And so you wouldn't need to break away wall at that point.
So they put the pilings in, and then they have the foundation, which in some areas in coastal A, you're required to have pilings per the building code. And then if our code does not, if you're not in the coastal A, you can do the stem wall or the block foundation as long as you do a soil study.
Right. Assuming on the water, you're going to need pilings because of the backfill from the.
Right. So the pilings foundation, like on 22nd, they put the pilings in, they poured the foundation, and then they built the columns off of those. And then the breakaway walls in between. It looks like very similar to block from the outside, but if you look at it closely, you're.
But where there's breakaway walls, that's below the 10-foot, wherever they're in A zone.
That's below, yes. So it's designed to break free
I
of
get
water.
it, but if you're above that, then that stops. So once you get to your base flood elevation, you don't need.
Yeah, you do not. So
Right.
then you're built to that height, and then you're safe.
Sure.
And that would be in coastal A zone or V zone. It's not just bringing the first floor, it's bringing that supporting horizontal.
You know, follow?
Well, I'm not sure what we're being asked to decide on.
So
Is
it was a recommendation from, again, Rebecca Quinn, who works as a consultant for FDM, to raise the requirement of coastal A zones to that of these coastal, or VE zone. And that would be you're adding the restriction that you cannot use the backfill in the coastal A.
So I personally am not for that.
And then she also
On
states,
the ocean, on the Gulf side.
CAZ like V, I guess, Bel Air Shore, Clearwater, Madera Beach, Oldsmar, Bennington Beach, Redding Shore, she used examples already.
And these are typically people on the Gulf of America, not on their coastal. And we
But
don't,
she's saying the recommendation would be everyone be under those.
Yes, but we don't have, it's not required.
I'm not for it,
Okay.
but that's my opinion.
Yeah, I'm not enough for that, I agree with you, yeah.
Okay.
So, no.
So, no, okay. And then, so we are for removing floodways, because it's just not necessary in the chapter. And then, the other major change. Oh, is our actual cash value definition. This was recommended to be updated. It is, definitions. I'll give that, okay, on page 20. So the market value, the definition was changed to be in line with the FDM approved actual cash value definition, and this is what we currently been using, if you've gotten a permit after the two storms. We're asking for that actual cash value, which is the value to rebuild that structure plus depreciation. So you have to apply depreciation. So what it would cost to rebuild that structure and then depreciate it by the age of the structure.
That would, that so determine your 50%.
That's for determining 50%, yes.
So if you,
And this would be across the board, just for any funding. So even if we were doing a non-conforming accessory structure, it would be applied to the actual cash value of the 50% for continuation.
so back to simple terms, if your structure worth $200,000 and you have over $100,000 in damage, you're not going to get permit. You're bossed by the 50% rule. So if you take that $200,000 structure that was built in 1968, it's valued at $260 now, but like when 1968, so now you depreciate it. What would that number look like? Would it be 100, or would it be higher, or be lower?
It depends on the depreciation methodology.
Well,
They use,
we didn't know that part before we.
You know, you see a lot of standard, but it depends on the appraiser. So.
Again, but it sounds like it's going backward, going down versus up. If it's all linear, it depreciate usually means a negative, so we're gonna be set at 100, we're gonna be set at 60, and we're not gonna have a chance to survive the 50% rule then.
But this is the definition that is approved by Florida Department of Emergency Management. This is what they intended.
Right.
So I think
We
that
currently don't have that here though.
currently we have a market value. It's kind of it's a old definition. It's not in line with the,
Market value has appreciation now, because obviously our real estate goes up.
right.
Well, this would help so that,
Yeah, it does.
so this is going the other way, so it's almost makes it, like, if we get another big one, you're coming up to the proper height of that line. That's the way I would do it.
So I don't know, and I can bring this back to FDM. I don't know if we're to the point yet where they're saying you need to change your definition, but I think we're getting close. We have a dated definition, so I can take that back.
I would just get a little bit more clarity on the example I used with the depreciation, just some kind of formula, something. Like almost all these houses out here are built in the late 50s and 60s.
I don't think they're gonna bend on how it's defined, because that's what they use. It's just whether they're gonna say we need to change our definition at this time. So I can bring that back to find out.
Yeah, maybe try to change it to where it's very similar to what we have it now versus switching the whole way we do it. Because that's not just definition, that's just a little look.
So if you read our definition, it opens up 3 avenues.
What is it?
Page 20. Let me see if I can get it cleaned in. So market value means the price at which the property will change hands between a willing buyer and a willing seller, either party being under compulsion to buy or sell, or both having reasonable knowledge of relevant facts. As used in this chapter, the term defined refers to market value of buildings and structures, excluding land and other improvements on the parcel. Market value may be established by a qualified independent appraiser. Actual cash value, replacement cost for depreciation, for age and quality of construction, and tax assessment value. So, tax assessment value adjusted to the approximate market value by factor provided by the property appraiser. So currently the accepted 2 definitions are, you can either use the actual cash value, which is determined by a private appraiser using the correct methodology and depreciation, which is reviewed by the floodplain administrator, or the what is the FEMA letter on the property appraiser website, which we all know at this point how to get there and find that. So what we would be omitting is just the broad established by a qualified independent appraiser. So that is a issue. Per the code, am I wrong? Because our code says that, we would have to use that as market value, what an appraiser determines. Chep, I don't know.
You're just moving the qualified independent appraiser from the beginning of the sentence to the back of the sentence. So to me, it doesn't look like there's any additional change.
So you don't, because when I was interpreting this, I don't know, a couple of years ago, you don't feel that there's 3 separate avenues to get that value based on how the definition is written?
So far, there's at least 2. It says it may be established by an independent appraiser, or it would be done based upon what a willing buyer and a willing seller would come to a price on. So there's 2 of them. And then, okay, and the third is tax assessed value adjusted by approximate market value of market provided by the county. So there's currently 3, and you're taking out the first one.
Yeah, by a qualified appraiser without using a defined actually passed that.
And so what Rebecca is saying is her note is almost all of the communities we worked with in the past 2 years, nearly 250, have made this change to remove the traditional market appraisal. FDM approved this to rely on the ACV as primary method. It's recommended because there's less judgment and less opportunity for bias. The starting like-kind replacement cost is what would cost the building cost to build exactly as shown, not to current code. So those are her comments on making that change. So she has a pretty strong opinion that change needs to be
Yeah.
made.
Yeah, it's a strong opinion. I don't know if it's to the point where they're gonna tell us we have to change it yet, but I think that's the direction. So at this point, we don't want it.
I don't.
I don't either.
Okay.
I second that one.
Died on the table.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think FEMA was much of a help to us at all. For what we went through.
And then the rest is just updating per what the changes in the building code.
Where are you at?
Well, I'm kind of flipping through the pages because the three, it was mainly pulling out floodways. It was, the coastal A zone adjustments would be in line with BE zones. And then lastly, that definition change were the main adjustments. Outside of a couple just dates that she changed in reference.
This is propane tank type of thing.
Oh, and the propane tank is to include all tanks because it's defined. We say specifically propane, but it's gonna be any kind of pressurized tank under that applies to, because it's all gonna have the same effect. So I can come back to our next meeting on that, as far as the definition.
Right. Okay.
So there is no consensus to move forward with these changes as being presented. It's basically being handed back to Kyle to talk to Rebecca Quinn about the concerns that were brought up here, and we would come back to you one more time.
That's pretty much it. We'll be going
Okay.
line item by line item all day here, because there's a bunch of stuff in here. But, so we'll just start with that, and that's the two main topics. Right. The main thing in here.
I'm just trying to figure out what our course of action is with Kyle that we're dealing with. Okay, understood. Yep.
The next deal is.
So the last one, as far as a full chapter. So chapter 7, 8, which is planning. And this is pretty straightforward. We moved it to chapter 9.4. And basically got rid of this chapter and
Right, right, right. Yeah.
with the other, it was more in line with chapter 9.4.
So that's, we'll revisit chapter 20.
So as just chapters, should we vote on it?
Yeah, I thought we already did. We're going to move chapter 78 into chapter 94. It's merged together, so we're not changing anything in 78.
Combined.
Yeah,
Come on.
Okay.
Okay.
So I would say motion.
A motion. Yeah.
Okay.
Aye.
I,
Okay, who is the second?
I'm.
Okay, thank you.
All yes. And now we're at revisit chapter 22.
Yep, chapter 22, environment. Article 2, nuisance, and we're going to be looking at section 22-33. And this one, the change was recommended to remove, let's just read the whole thing. So it was the feeding or distributing grain or food of any kind or nature in such a manner as to attract birds, fowls, uninvestigated animals of any kind or nature tend to assemble or herd themselves together in a concentrated area, causing a nuisance or potential health and safety hazard to the public and private property. Crowing roosters and other noisy fowl are also declared to be a nuisance and shall not be kept or maintained within the city. For the purpose of this subsection, domesticated residential family pups residing only within the property or residence of the property owner or occupant, fixed bird feeding devices, or free roaming squirrels shall be exempt from this provision of the subsection. So we're recommended to remove that whole last sentence. And this is because we feel like the mention of the fixed bird feeders is not necessary because you can cover any kind of nuisance of a large gathering of birds. The reason I bring this up is because we have some people that are bird enthusiasts. They put out the fixed bird feeders, which are fine, but then they also spread lots of seed all over the yard and other areas. So they have a fixed bird feeder. A lot of times they'll claim that's all they're using, but they're spreading obviously seed and it's attracting all these birds.
Is this coming
Causing
down,
an issue.
is this coming down with like a couple people fighting with neighbors or something?
I've had this happen in like 3 residences that I started, with birds, feeding, and where the line is.
Yeah, I think it's kind of almost a personal thing, but I mean, I live on the water and I've been myself here my whole life, and there's plenty of times I get a stale loaf of bread and I'm not throwing it away, it's going off, it's going to the birds and they love it, and it's a great moment. I mean, it's a thing we're a little petty, but that's one thing, is this like somebody's coming in and they're banging on the window complaining about it, or?
In that situation, it may not become a nuisance, but if you have someone who's constantly feeding wildlife, but the wildlife will continue to go back.
Is there a certain location in the city I could drive by and see it myself?
Currently, no.
No. So, I mean, it had to happen to get this far.
There's been a recent incident of someone feeding birds and
And they call you guys up.
Well, the fixed bird feeders, I mean, I don't have anything to do with this, I didn't even know this was coming up, but they also attract rats. So there's a lot of people who are complaining about rats. I don't know if that has a thing to do with this, I'm just saying that they do.
I've experienced that too, yeah. And actually, there's people on 7th Street that are feeding rodent, I call them rodent, the squirrels and whatever, because I see half-eaten buns and so left in the yard. And then for a while, the squirrels were damaging the palm trees, all new fresh palm. They would just drop because they would eat these trees, you know, target $1,000 a tree sometime. So,
What did it say, you changed some kind of feeding bird policy? How would
So,
you
the reason-
enforce it?
so really, it's just taking out these exceptions because if someone's feeding animals in the wild and it's causing them to group up and become a nuisance situation, that is really how I would define that nuisance, rather than having the exception of the fixed bird feeder. I tend to find that just becomes a problem.
yeah, but the
As an
doctor, they make a mess, they
that's-
shit all over.
But I've never seen, in my experience, a fixed bird feeder that's just existing, that it is causing this type of nuisance.
So you just say, you're suggesting we remove this one paragraph.
Yeah, the last sentence, because we feel like the code can still be accomplished what it's meant to accomplish without kind of almost confusing with the exception. Because what it comes down to is are you behaving or doing some kind of action that is causing a nuisance with the wildlife?
They want to feed the birds, they can go to Taylor Pond Park and feed the birds.
Some birds, some people.
Sometimes you can even hang clothes outside because of the birds pooping all over the place.
You got an opinion on it, make a motion.
Yeah. I say no.
Your motion what?
No, I'm against feeding the birds.
Do you got a second? I'm not.
Well, this will stay, the code stays the same, it really just, it kind of cleans it up
Yeah, okay,
with the taking out.
You want to clean that verbiage out.
yeah.
So the motion is to approve staff recommendation to delete the last sentence of paragraph 22 of that code. Is that your motion?
Yes.
Okay.
Angela?
Oh, well, I'm reading it again. Yeah, I mean, I second it. I don't think you need further.
You ready to vote?
I say, yeah, I agree.
Let's do next.
I think it's.
No, so it's 2-1.
Okay, so it's approved.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next, number 8, is to revisit chapter 30, which is marine structures, activities, facilities. The reason I bring it back to this chapter is because ongoing complaints on having people parking either on the side of the road to fish off one bridge or the other, Harrison or 22nd Street Bridge, or parking actually in someone's driveway that they observe may not be home to do that, to hide their car. And then not only are people fishing on the right-of-way portion of the bridge, the bank, it's been observed that people are walking along the side of seawalls fishing. So it's kind of becoming an issue. There is no fishing restriction outside of the marina currently, but not saying that we're going to ban fishing in all the parks or any access, but specifically to the 2 bridges.
Yeah, they've been talking about 22nd lately. That was one of them growing up.
Yeah.
But what's the current rules like fishing on the bridge out here?
That's no fishing on this one, but diving and jumping.
You're diving.
I don't know, I'd have to check the county ordinance. I don't think there is one though, because you do see people, and we've checked it before. So they can drop a line off of this bridge,
You're talking the general public fishing.
general public. And this is anywhere in the city, there's no, as long as, if they walk to the bridge and they're not parked in someone's driveway around the street, it is legal for them to fish.
Well, where are they gonna park?
And they could park all the way in one of our lots and walk.
I guess the park in some of my lots on.
Yeah, as long as they bring you a nice.
So there's no parking on the city streets anyway, right? So they can-
Unless you're working, but
Mhm.
that could be determined.
So that's kind of already in place. I mean, you're not supposed to park on people's driveways.
That's true.
But our world has changed also, so what about the security of your residents and so forth, by having the general population fish off our bridge? If they want to park and fish at this bridge, well, they can park here. But as far as using residential area, I'm against that.
So like what we're trying to do is get to where they can't park, right there at the bridge.
That's right, they can't park.
Which
Well,
we
they
already
can't.
have an ordinance.
But you can't park at the bridge. But right now, say you lived a block away and you're a resident, you can walk to the bridge to fish. But I'm not seeing that very often.
And so what's your request for you guys to change?
Well,
But
I want to consider.
If it's obstructing the traffic flow, if they're parked there, they're not supposed to be parked there to begin with, so it's obstructing the flow of the traffic.
But if you got little kids who have their bicycles and they bought their fishing poles and they're not on anybody else's property, are you gonna say you can't fish off the
So how
bridge?
do
You
you
can
know
send them
that?
the 20th or
Yeah.
25th.
Go
Oh, that's true, we do have public parks, I
Yeah.
forgot about that.
Yeah.
The 20
It's not exactly the safest place to be fishing anyways either.
Well, that's true, yeah, I've almost been run over just walking over it, so.
Well, the 22nd Street Bridge is.
Mhm. I forgot about the parks,
Yeah,
yeah.
you have 20th, 25th, 7th, Belle Isle, there's a bunch of them.
Just shush them away.
Yeah.
Let's just go home.
Okay, so how do we go with this now?
I'm looking for the highlighted area, and you usually have it highlighted.
No, I picked that chapter because there's just no mention, but you know, call out the Causeway Bridge rules right at the beginning.
So somebody want a motion?
I say no parking.
It's
Or
already.
fishing or no parking?
Yeah, yeah.
No fishing, we put up a sign, no fishing,
No fishing.
it would be cut and dry.
So that's, they're not, they're get past the parking, because I'm not fishing,
Yeah.
no matter what. You live down the street, you're just not fishing anymore.
Oh, yeah.
And I personally can't, I grew up there fishing on that bridge.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty tough, yeah.
But I mean, if I get it, I almost got clipped a couple times when I was a kid by a car. Because it gets narrow, it's dangerous, but I just, that's the biggest hypocrite in the room.
Well, then that's a safety issue too. So you have to think, are we gonna get, if some little kids there fishing and somebody, is the city gonna get sued because we don't have a
No,
no fishing
no.
off the bridge sign?
And all that.
Okay. Then I don't know.
I said, I can't be
You know, it's biting on it.
I can't be the biggest hypocrite, but I mean, if you enforce the guys that are out of, people don't live here that come and park there, and they're not supposed to be, that's
You're on
that's
somebody's
a sheriff
property.
that needs to do that. And there are a group of guys that do that.
Right.
And then the last couple months, they're quite bad. They're getting dinner. I moved, a couple of them went down to one of my lots on 22nd. They do pretty good.
Yeah,
But-
so,
Yeah. No, and this kind of came out of the boldness of people going on others.
Yeah, I know that they worked at.
Parking in people's
They
driveways.
walk, they just keep walking along the side. And then they're chasing the fish.
yeah, I think,
Anyways, I'm not.
I think that's a
second
police
it.
issue. If somebody's on your property, you're parking in the street, that's a police issue.
Kyle's just trying to say no fishing at all, and like I said, I fished there for 15 years.
I'd rather have them fishing than doing something
There you go,
nefarious.
so-
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
somebody who had
Well,
three
the next one
brothers
is,
killed him.
Last
I'm
one
telling
before
you.
general business, we got revisit chapter 94, and this is 94-259, and it's a roadway and driveway intersection visibility. We realized this when I was reviewing plans to, oh, sorry, I don't have the chapter. I was reviewing plans to add a driveway. And in 94, we didn't have anything actually saying that you cannot put the driveway inside of the site triangle area. And it was a concern that maybe we should.
Describe what you mean by a site plan.
So, okay, so, we actually, the last page of the packet is gonna show the full section, except for, it currently is A through D. So, the add to this would be, E, subsection E, saying no portion of a driveway or a driveway turnout shall be located within the triangle of the two intersecting streets or roadways described in this section. So, in this section, we describe the site triangle. So subsection A says to minimize traffic hazards at street or road or driveway intersections, no structure or landscaping shall be erected, installed, or maintained. And then our previous recommendation was to scratch the line that said which obstructs the view of motorists at an intersection within the city at the level that exceeds 30 inches in height. And then we added, so should be installed or maintained that obstructs visibility between 2.5 feet and 10 feet above the center line of the grade of the intersecting streets or driveways within the triangle described in this section. So, I'm sorry, that wasn't actually the site triangle. So the next section says, the area of property located at the corner formed by an intersection of two or more public streets or roadways, or at the intersection of a street or roadway with a driveway, with two sides of the triangle area being measured 25 feet in length along the abutting edges of the roadway, or edge of the roadway or driveway, forming the sides or legs of the triangle from their point of intersection, and a third line being the hypotenuse connecting the ends of the other two sides of the line. So where those two streets meet, if you draw 25 feet in length down each road at the edge of the street, and then you get to those points and you draw the hypotenuse, that is your line of sight. So basically, because it was not in here, we wanted to make sure that no one was attempting to put a driveway within that section. And I was looking at driveway plans, they ended up wanting to put it outside of the site triangle, but when considering, I was like, there's no code that would prevent that.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea, just pulling out of Donato on the 22nd, that guy's got all those bushes right there, you gotta cheat past the stop sign just to make the right, because people fly down that road. I think he cleared some of that recently, that's a perfect example why that's a good idea.
Oh, yeah.
I motion to approve that.
Yeah, I motion that too.
So, aye.
Aye.
And then just a point to bring up, that, some cities, there's more regulations on where a driveway can exist and where the entrances can be. Our city, you can put a driveway all the way to the edge of your property line on either side, in any kind of configuration, just so you're aware.
But the entrance is still 25 feet setback.
Yeah, that's the purpose of this code, is to keep that entrance away from the corner of that property.
I didn't want to look at it. Can you clarify what's going on? What's the rules on the derelict boats that we have out here?
Okay, can we?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask that. I don't know where that area for docks and all that stuff.
So again, this is to add E. And the underline and the cross out there from our previous recommendation that we approved, which were, again, to change the 30 inches in height to the more of a window.
Let me clarify the motion. I motion to do all these changes, A, B, C, D, E. I need a second.
Unknown caller.
Second.
I second it.
I second it.
Vote
Aye.
Aye.
All right. No other general business?
Just had one question here on the codes.
So we're still working with the same laws that were presented to us previously. With the boats being anchored out there, legally be anchored unless they're unable to pass the navigation test. If we suspect that the boat is damaged or not navigable, the sheriff will go out there and ask them to do a propulsion test. They have to go a certain distance and turn. If they can't do that, then it can be considered derelict and it can be stickered. We have a removal program that's funded by the state. It takes a little bit of time, there's a waiting period.
Let's see if this is paying for the whole thing.
I don't know the whole background, because I've heard them speak on it. But nothing has changed. The only discussion has been, you can apply some regulation if you establish a mooring field, but it's very limited. It doesn't provide very much as far as being able to keep the boats away. We, in council meetings, have discussed enforcing the, the pump outs and, maintenance checks. But the discussion has been who would be out there to enforce.
Right, nobody. I was just curious if they're even allowed to anchor out there, more out there.
Yes. That's.
We had one sink, 2 months ago?
Mm-hmm.
And one of us take out the bridge during hurricanes.
Unfortunately, people, like sell these very old boats to somebody who's willing to buy them. I think they're living in.
The little boards. Was there any precedents that you heard of that cities have told them you just can't moor here? Is there any way you can?
You have to have a mooring field. There are specific requirements under the state statute. Most cities don't want to do that because you set out a mooring field saying you can only park over here. Well, then it actually brings more people
Right.
because now they know they have a location that they can moor. So most cities that we represent, they kind of stay away from it. They had obviously addressed the derelict vessels issues. They have the sheriff come in, they tag them. There is a legal process that they go through to make sure that they're either moved or can move. And if they can't, then, they'll basically go through the process to remove them from that location.
A lot of work.
Yeah. But there is a state statute that specifically addresses it.
I'm just trying to avoid them all smashed into the bridge and all the next storm.
Isn't there a rule that they can only stay for so long and they have to move it?
That's in the mooring field, right?
Yeah, if you have a mooring field, you can tell them they have to be there for a certain location, then they have to move within 7 days or whatever, or 10 days or whatever, but you don't want a mooring field, let me just tell you, okay?
We don't want to worry about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
No, not if more of them will come. We don't
more of
want
them
that.
will come, for sure. That's the data that we've seen. Okay?
Any other general business?
Yeah, now what about the right of way to the beach between the condo? There was an issue I read about. Now, what concluded with that?
So nothing's happened with it. We got the initial letter and the county replied that they agreed, or they believe that the easement was still effective and
And it will remain as
that
such.
it will remain as such. And I've had discussions with the current members on the board, or at least one of them more so. And it sounds right now that they're not interested in reverting the easement. So
Okay.
whether or not they would actually take legal action on that, they haven't, so that's kind of where we're at.
Okay.
So if you're familiar with Beach Nourishment, Dollar Beach has initially got all of their easements, which are perpetual, it's required in the nourishment program for all the condominium properties, and we've had those. So we've been one of the lucky cities to have everything needed for the nourishment program, but there's been other
There's
obstacles.
a challenge down there by Morgan, right, on the condo, right south of Morgan, trying to take theirs back.
They sent us a letter saying that they intended to revert, and they didn't really give a reason. They just said that they cited how many days, and then again, the county, they run the program. I was to both the city and the county. They replied stating that they believe no, that they upkept their end of the agreement and that it's still in effect.
Good. Okay. Well, I'd say motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
Second.
No vote is necessary.
We'll see you next time.
Okay.
Do we want to set a date or?
Well, do we have anything, any date coming up?
We stick to the same time that works for you guys. I think
Just give us.
maybe just a month would be plenty of time.
What's that?
A month or less.
What do we got left to go through all the different, do we have anything else?
So we're through all the chapters. I need to follow back up with what I discussed with the flood plan consultant.
We
You gotta give us some kind of list of all the things we
Yeah.
propose, so we can follow it when the council does go to the vote.
I can go back through and update all our drafts, and then send it back.
I didn't keep the wrong list, but
It'd be a lot of bullets, all the way through.
yeah, but there's some bullet points, if you will, we put in.
I can give you a list of the ones that you recommended and
Yeah.
changed from, yeah,
That's
I have
right.
those written down.
Not all the ones you've highlighted, but just the stuff that we kicked
That
around.
we have to do.
And right up the flagpole, so to speak.
Now, I don't know if this is relevant to our meeting here, but how often do they clean the baffle for the, high tide for water to come through the drainage system in the street? Because water has been.
Okay, so like at individual streets?
Yeah.
At my phone
Yeah.
store? So we're doing good.
I mean, under intercoastals.
Yeah, so what happened was, we had some repair pipes, as part of the current project. And they put lining in it, and when they put the lining in it, the end of that lining was distorted, and we couldn't easily get the valves back in. So it took some doing to contact the manufacturers to find out what they recommended, and so that we did it appropriately. And then I've been working with the contractor, so where we're at now, 12th and 13th are operating very well. 9th Street's been operating well. We still need to determine, we found another pipe going into a box that could be coming from someone's yard or some kind of drainage field. We're not even sure of it. Yeah, at this point. But we believe water was coming through that, but I need to unplug that during, when we got tidal pressure on it, so I can see if that is affecting that system.
Because about 10 days ago, the end of my street was totally covered with water from the tide.
Okay, and you're on 6th.
I'm on 6.
So, for the most part, those valves have been working ongoing, but that's good to know, because what can happen is they don't always work. There can be debris that comes down that makes it doesn't close all the way on just one time, and then it functions next. So, yeah, I'll keep an eye on that, because this afternoon tide's coming up again, so I'll see what the drainage is. Those, you got one on, you gotta check it all on 5th, you got one on 6th, two
Yeah.
separate pipes.
Yeah.
18th.
18th, I got the valve in, and it's holding back, but I still want to follow and make sure it's
Yeah,
all the
she
way
said
in.
Anytime they
100%.
go,
she
let
won't
me
be
know
back.
that
She might be back next month,
She's back in
but
the
she
house.
goes
The
to the
neighbor?
Carolinas
Oh, your mom?
for the summer.
Don't you have a provision in your
Okay,
code
so if I
that
need to go
says
back
you
out
miss a
there,
certain
I'll-
number of meetings that you're automatically removed from the board?
I believe so. But yeah.
We need to do that.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. I'll check into that and see because yeah, she hasn't been here since I've started.